In this video, I'll go over my trip in the Dolomites in late July, what to see, where to go and how to do it. Now, because of the history of the Dolomites, some places are still known for their Austrian name, but also for their Italian name. So to make things easier, I'll just put up both when it's relevant. We started off in the Netherlands and drove there by car. Now, I won't go over my electric car journey in this video, but it's perfectly doable, even in the Italian Dolomites. So with the car, it's almost a 12-hour drive, and that is without any delays or stops. So we decided to make a stop at Eibsee in Germany. I've posted some videos about that stunning place too, for if you're interested, but it's the perfect place to stay for a day or two if you want to see all of the beautiful nature there. After the night in the Eibsee area, we drove towards our hotel in the Dolomites, and I chose this small place called Badia as my base of operations. This is a very central location, depending of course on where you want to go in the Dolomites, but if you look at the map, you're basically in the middle of all the hotspots. That is Cinque Torri, Cascate di Fanes, Gardena Pass or Passo Gardena, Langkofel or Sassolungo, Parco Naturale Tre Cime or Drei zinnen, Pragser Wildsee or Lago di Braies, and much more. So I would definitely recommend you try to find a place where you're in the middle of the action. Now, I don't know whether or not you'll have a car available, or you will do everything by taxi, bus or even bike, but the same principle applies, so keep that in mind. So the first day we went to Pragser Wildsee, otherwise known as Lago di Braies. I did not do any research beforehand, so after a drive of like an hour, we arrived at this very busy intersection where the entrance of the park was at. This was all a 15-minute drive from the lake itself. The whole area is protected. When planning your trip, please note that there are vehicle restrictions in the Braies Valley from July 10 throughout September 10 to reduce the amount of traffic in the area during peak summer season. You can still drive through Lago di Braies before 9 AM or after 4 PM. During the day, Lake Braies can also be reached by public transportation, on foot or by bicycle. Of course, you can also use your own car with a reservation. So pre-book your parking ticket online and make your choice beforehand to avoid the stress when you get there. The online reservation is needed to get through the gates, so what you'll see is a lot of people turning around and booking it at the spot. But the connection there wasn't too good. There is a lot of parking area, but we ended up parking at P1, which is a 1-hour walk or 10-minute drive from the lake itself. And there isn't a lot of shade here either, so you won't like the walk unless you planned it. Luckily, there is a bus shuttle there too, which you have to pay for separately, but you can also purchase a ticket beforehand. There is also P2, P3 and even P4. That last one is only for hotel guests at Hotel Lago di Braies. The other ones are preferable, and since a bus ticket is also like €8, the price difference does not really matter that much. So make sure to check beforehand. I know it can be a shot in the dark because of the constantly changing Dolomites weather, so if you want to await the beautiful weather and you arrive around 10 to 12 in the morning, there is still a lot of parking space left at P1. You should, if you're able, walk the whole circle there. It's definitely worth it. You're probably there for around 2 to 3 hours, depending on how long you want to hang around. If you still want to do something that day, I recommend you combine it with a visit to Toblaggerzee or Durrenzee, which are in the area. We went to Toblaggerzee and walked around the area there too. It's not as touristy of a place, but has beautiful spots. Now you're also pretty close to Tre Cime or Drei zinnen, but I recommend you take the whole day for that and arrive a little earlier. The next day we went to Cascate di Fanes. Now if you want to visit this beautiful spot and you're coming from Badia, The road leading up to there is just stunning. I definitely recommend you at least drive through it once. It's a lot of fun with all the curves and steep edges, while still enjoying the wide and good roads normally unavailable to such a place. The views I got from driving there were absolutely one of the best I've ever seen on a road, and stay with me when I think back of this awesome trip. So just drive up to the parking spot called Sant Uberto and try to find a spot there. It's a free parking area, at least when I visited, so make sure to check when arriving. Make sure to pack some food for lunch and take a big bottle of water before going though, since you'll be hiking a little while. Oh, and don't forget to bring a hat or some sunscreen when you're going in the summer. Now you can take whatever route you wish for, of course. But when we arrived, we were searching quite long for which road to take, since there are two main roads and a lot of smaller ones. You can take this road which isn't on Google Maps, which will take you along a pretty climby yet beautiful path to this side of the valley. You can also go down there and climb up again if you've got the right gear. But we wanted to get to the other side without the need of climbing gear, so we walked all the way back again and then took the other road. This road will lead you to the right side if you want to see the waterfall up close. It's also pretty steep sometimes, but overall a lot easier than the other one. When you're coming up to an area with a lot of benches, which you'll recognize by people chilling there and eating lunch, you can enjoy the beautiful views or be more adventurous and go all the way to the waterfall. Now you must decide for yourself if you can do this, but I saw a lot of people with climbing gear attaching themselves to the rail, so please be careful. But I did it without the need of climbing gear and it wasn't all that hard. When you're coming up to the waterfall, it can be pretty slippery and wet though, so make sure you hold on tight. Once you're there, the amazing waterfall is an awesome sight to behold. Of course, the way back is as beautiful, and we enjoy the views for the rest of the day close to this river coming from the waterfall we just visited. The next day we visited Sasida. You can easily park at Funevi Sasida Spa. Now if you're coming from Badia, the road you'll be taking is yet again stunning. The Gardena Pass is as beautiful as the previous road we've taken, but also a lot of fun to drive. I also saw a lot of sports cars there, enjoying the thrill of the curvy roads. Just be careful because there are still a lot of cyclists on the road too. We couldn't pay with card for parking as it was basically two guys with a fanny pack full of cash. Once you're parked however, you can pay for the tickets for the cable car with your card. Or cash. I did not see any ATMs there, but it's located in a village where I'm sure there's one around. Now if you're scared of cable cards, the first one is really easy and not that scary to be honest, but the second one might get you thinking twice. One tip I can give you is just to look at something else other than the windows. And before you'll know it, you're up there. If you aren't scared however, the views can be something else. I've heard you can hike all the way up there too, although I can imagine you'll be needing a pack for the whole day and be quite exhausted when you arrive. Once you're there, you are greeted with this restaurant and restrooms, which is always nice to know when you're going somewhere. The mountains are really something else. We arrived with a perfectly clear weather, but there's also videos where the clouds just kiss the edge of the mountain and both look awesome. If you walk this path leading up to the edge, you can venture further, which is easily doable without any climbing gear, and I believe I inspired a lot of people to do the same. Just be very careful at the edge, of course. if you have some time left after Sasida, you can drive to the popular St. John Church, which is pretty close, around like 30 to 40 minutes drive, but we'll get there eventually too. We also visited Carrezze or Lago di Carezza, which is not close by and like an hour drive from Sasida, but since we wanted to visit it, we put that in our schedule of the day. Now this place is absolutely beautiful, but there isn't a lot to do outside of enjoy the awesome landscapes, so ultimately you should be the judge if you think the hour and a bit drive is worth it for that. We ultimately spent like 45 minutes there. The circle around the lake is only like 20 minutes though. Something to keep in mind is that the lake isn't accessible since it's protected, so you'll only be able to enjoy the views from a safe distance. I saw this place a lot on Instagram, and even though it's absolutely beautiful, I would spend my time somewhere else in the Dolomites, as I kind of felt like this was a overhyped tourist spot. There is a lot of hikes around the area though, so it can be combined with something else too. The next day we went to Tre Cime or Drei zinnen. Now even though I saw a few videos and articles on this, it still wasn't easy to find where I needed to park and go. So just type in Refugio Auronzo or Auronzo Hutte, and it will find a route to the national park and eventually the parking area right beside the beautiful mountains. The road leading up to there is so beautiful, I cannot describe it in words. You'll also be greeted with yet another gate where you'll purchase a toll ticket to get up there. It's 30 euros for cars, 20 for motorcycles and 45 for a camper / caravans. Now we arrived at like 10 or 11 AM and there was still a lot of parking spots left, but I've seen that it can get very busy. But I think there's always a spot. Most probably on the lower side though, where you would still have to walk up. But since we're here to hike anyway, that doesn't matter. Now once again, you'll be greeted by a restaurant and restrooms. The restrooms were quite dirty though and smelled as if the sewer was open. And even though there's one other restaurant further up the road, that one only has holes in the ground because they were getting too dirty there too. Which is the downside of all those tourists, sadly. But don't let that distract you. From the first restaurant, you will have the choice to go to the Tre Cime or the other side, and both are around 30 to 45 minutes hike. Now Ryan Shirley did an awesome video on this and basically called the other side Mordor, because it looks like that in the Lord of the Rings. I'll leave that video in the description too, along any other resources and locations. You'll have amazing views, you can hike all the way to the edge, and if you have a drone, you'll have the time of your life. Tales of worries, travel with the storm. But I must try to figure it out alone. Yeah, I must try to figure it out alone. And now, when you're gone, I know. The way to Tre Cime is also like 30 minutes and it's quite steep, so expect a little challenge. And make sure to bring some lunch and some water, and a little snack can help a lot too, for that little bit of extra energy you'll be needing. Once you arrive though, the views are amazing and you'll be stunned and just look around you for most of the time. The mountains are so cool to see in real life and you cannot really fathom the size of this thing. I also saw people climbing up the mountains there too. So once again, if you don't want to miss a single thing, make sure to bring some climbing gear here too, since there is a lot of ways through the mountains which make for excellent views but are too dangerous if you'll do it without. On the last day we went to the Adolf Munkel weg, or Palestra di Roccia or the Palestra di Roccia Alta via the Adolf Munkel. And this hike was also stunning. You'll need to set your GPS to Trefpunkt Sans, and from there you'll be greeted with yet another gate, where you'll pay the fee in cash or card. But once again, the connection wasn't too good here, so make sure to bring some cash. There's a lot of parking area there, so don't worry. From there you can take different routes up the mountain, which can be quite hard when it's 30 degrees Celsius, so be sure to bring enough supplies and sunscreen. This road will pretty much lead itself, but can be quite long too. So what we did was follow up the road until the edge of the mountains, where you can pretty much see Sasida, but from the other side. And then we hike back down. Now if you're departing, make sure to visit the St. John Church, or this in Italian, which is a very small little church in the middle of this beautiful field, where you have the awesome mountain backdrop. Lastly, we visited Sassolungo or Langkofel, and to go there, set your GPS to Hotel Passo Sella Dolomiti Mountain Resort. And don't rely on Google Street View, as it's quite old and does not look like it anymore. You basically find a sign in between the hotels that say parking area, which is linked to the main road, and pay the fee. This parking area isn't very big and there is a lot of confused people driving up and down the main road, so don't let it distract you. Once you're parked, you can walk up to the cable car area, where you'll be greeted with one of the sketchiest cable cars you'll ever see. This one is pretty old and are 2-people cable cars. There is no stop here either. So once you go, you need to jump in these things and they'll close it behind you. Now, to make things worse, sometimes people aren't fast enough and they'll need to stop the whole thing, causing a lot of confusion and anxiety with people who don't know what happens. You'll be hanging in there with a 2-man cable car from the 70s, wondering why you did all this. But once you're out though, the views are amazing. If you don't fancy the ride, you can of course hike up there too. There isn't a whole lot to do if you randomly go there, other than to explore the area and hike down, and maybe order a drink at the restaurant. But if you want to go mountain climbing, there is a lot of tours and things to help you experience that. Now, we didn't visit everything, so here are some honorable mentions. Cinque Torri. If you followed my guide, you've already gone past it basically. On the road from Cascate di Fanes to Badia. This beautiful area has got a lot of awesome places to go for a hike, but Cinque Torri is one of the most popular in the area. There is also some World War I history here, for if you're interested in museums. Other areas I did not go to, but maybe you will, are Val Venegia, Rosengarten or Gruppo del Catinaccio, Lake Sorapis or Lago di Sorapis, or maybe even Sass Rigais in the area of Adolf Munkel. Whatever you end up doing, I hope this guide was helpful for you. If you have any questions or tips, leave them down in the comment section below so other people can see them too. And I hope you have an awesome trip.